Taylor Swift sat on the cold tile floor of her bathroom, her knees pulled tightly to her chest. The world around her felt eerily still, except for the trembling in her hands and the pounding in her chest that refused to quiet. 3 pregnancy tests lay side by side on the marble counter, each one bearing the same message in 2 unmistakable pink lines. Positive. All of them. Her breath caught. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Pregnant. The word echoed in her mind like a foreign melody. Familiar, yet impossible to believe. She wasn't supposed to be here. They hadn't planned this. They weren't even married yet. From behind the door came Travis's voice, muffled but filled with concern. "Babe, you okay in there? You've been in the bathroom for like 20 minutes. Taylor couldn't answer. Her throat felt tight. She wanted to call back, to say yes or no or something, but her mind was a blur. All she could do was stare at those little pink lines that had rewritten her entire life. Her heart raced. The memories flickered back. That one night, 2 weeks ago, after his playoff victory, when passion had replaced reason for just a few moments. It couldn't happen from one time, she'd told herself. But apparently it could. Travis's voice came again, more worried now. "Taylor, you're starting to worry me. I'm coming in." Panic jolted through her. "No, wait," she blurted, scrambling to her feet. She grabbed the tests, shoving them into the drawer under the sink, flushed the toilet for effect and splashed water on her face. When she opened the door, Travis stood there in sweatpants and a t-shirt, his hair messy from sleep, eyes full of concern. "You okay?" he asked softly, his hands finding her shoulders. Taylor forced a weak smile. "Yeah, just stomach thing. Maybe something I ate." The lie came too easily, and she hated herself for it immediately. Travis, being Travis, didn't question it. He just pulled her close, wrapping her in his warmth, the familiar scent of him grounding her in a moment that otherwise felt like free fall. "You want me to make you some tea? Ginger helps, right?" "That would be nice," she whispered. When he left for the kitchen, Taylor closed the door again and pulled the tests back out. Still positive. Still staring back at her like undeniable truth. Her period was 5 days late, and Taylor Swift was never late. Her cycles had run like clockwork since she was 14. She grabbed her phone, typing into Google with trembling fingers. False positive pregnancy test. The answers made her stomach twist. False positives were rare. If it says positive, you probably are. Taylor looked at her reflection in the mirror, her hand drifting unconsciously to her still flat stomach. There could be a baby in there, a tiny human, half her, half Travis. Maybe with his smile and her eyes, or her smile and his eyes. The thought terrified her. But buried beneath the fear was something else, something dangerous and beautiful. Hope. From the kitchen, Travis called, "Tea's ready." Taylor hid the tests once more, took a deep breath, and stepped back into the world, into a moment she already knew would change everything. They sat together at the kitchen island, the quiet hum of a Saturday morning filling the air. Travis was scrolling through his phone while Taylor held her mug of ginger tea, pretending to sip. The steam rose between them, but her thoughts were a storm she couldn't quiet. She had to tell him. She couldn't hide it forever. But how? How do you tell the man you love that the world you'd planned, marriage first, kids later, had just changed overnight? Her heart was still racing when Travis suddenly looked up, brow furrowed. "You're being weird," Taylor blinked. "What?" "You're staring at that mug like it's gonna sing to you. And you've got that face." "What face?" "The face you make when you're stuck on a lyric and can't find the right words." She let out a small nervous laugh. He knew her too well, and suddenly the lie felt unbearable. "I'm not writing lyrics," she said quietly. Travis put his phone down. His tone softened, but his eyes didn't waver. "Then what's wrong? And don't say nothing. I can tell something's bothering you." Taylor's throat went dry. She set her mug down, her fingers trembling slightly. "Travis, I need to tell you something." He straightened immediately, his full attention on her now. "Okay, what is it?" "I think I'm—" She stopped. Her mouth couldn't seem to form the words. "I mean, I took some tests and they were all All what? Travis asked gently. Her breath caught. The truth tumbled out in a rush. I'm pregnant. The silence that followed was absolute. Travis just stared at her, his face pale, his jaw slack as if his brain had stopped working altogether. Taylor could feel tears burning behind her eyes. Please say something, she whispered. Travis blinked. You're having a baby? Maybe. I mean, the tests were positive. I still need to go to the doctor to confirm, but yes, I think so. He stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor, and walked to the window, his hands gripping the back of his neck. Taylor's stomach sank. Her worst fear unfurled in slow motion. He's upset. He's not ready. He doesn't want this. But then Travis turned around, and there were tears on his face. Taylor froze. He crossed the kitchen in 3 long strides and dropped to his knees in front of her, placing both hands gently on her hips, pressing his forehead against her stomach. We're having a baby, he whispered. His voice was shaking, full of wonder and disbelief. Taylor, we're really having a baby. Relief washed over her so intensely it almost knocked her breath away. You're not upset? She asked, her voice cracking. He looked up, eyes glistening. Upset? Taylor, I'm terrified. Completely terrified, but also, he laughed through the tears. I'm happy. So damn happy I can barely breathe. Taylor broke then. Sobs, laughter, tears, all tangled together. He stood, wrapping her in his arms, and for the first time in her life the world felt both terrifying and perfect all at once. This wasn't the plan, she whispered against his chest. We were supposed to get married first, wait a few years. Plans change, Travis murmured, kissing her hair, and maybe this is better than any plan we could have made. They held each other in the middle of that kitchen. 2 people crying, laughing, terrified, and completely in love, realizing that sometimes the best surprises are the ones that rewrite your life entirely. Monday came too slowly. The weekend had passed in a blur of secret smiles, whispered dreams, and plans neither of them had ever expected to make. Taylor couldn't sleep Sunday night. She lay awake listening to the rhythm of Travis's breathing beside her, his arm draped protectively across her stomach even in sleep. That small gesture made her chest ache. They'd spent hours talking about names, colors for the nursery, even whether their baby would love football or music first. By Monday morning, the anticipation was almost unbearable. She called her doctor the moment the office opened. I think I'm pregnant, she told the receptionist. Within hours, they were sitting in a discreet medical office, the kind chosen carefully to keep paparazzi away. Travis had canceled everything to be there, his nerves obvious in the way his leg bounced non-stop. You okay? Taylor asked softly. Yeah, he said, forcing a smile. Just, what if the tests were wrong? Taylor didn't answer. That same thought had haunted her, too. When Dr. Sarah Martinez entered, her warmth eased the tension in the room. So, she said kindly, I hear we might have some exciting news. Taylor nodded. I took 3 tests. All positive. But I wanted to be sure. Of course. We'll start with a blood test, and if you'd like, an early ultrasound. The blood test was quick. The waiting was not. An hour stretched into forever. To fill the silence, Dr. Martinez suggested an ultrasound, though she warned it might be too early to see much. Taylor lay back on the table, her gown rustling softly. Travis sat beside her, gripping her hand so tightly she could feel his pulse racing against hers. The screen flickered to life. Black and gray shapes, shifting and unclear. Then, something. A small, faint circle of light. Is that? Travis whispered. That's the gestational sac, Dr. Martinez confirmed with a smile. It's still very early, but that's a good sign. Taylor's heart leapt. There it was, proof. A tiny speck of life. Or at least, she thought so. They waited again. The longest hour of their lives. Travis paced the room. Taylor sat still. Her palm pressed over her stomach like she could somehow keep that fragile hope from fading. When Dr. Martinez returned, her expression had changed. The warmth was still there, but now there was something else. A softness that felt like preparation. Taylor's heart stuttered. What's wrong? The doctor sat down gently. I'm so sorry, Taylor. The blood test came back negative. Taylor blinked, not understanding. But the tests at home. Sometimes home tests give false positives, Dr. Martinez explained softly. It's rare, but it happens, especially if there's a chemical pregnancy or hormonal imbalance. Your HCG levels are slightly elevated, but not high enough to confirm pregnancy. So I'm not. Pregnant? I'm afraid not. The words hit like a physical blow. Taylor felt her chest cave in, her breath catching. The doctor's voice became distant, a blur of explanations. Stress, hormones, false positives. But Taylor couldn't hear any of it. All she could feel was the cold emptiness where hope had been just moments before. Dr. Martinez gave them privacy, and as soon as the door closed, Taylor broke. The sobs tore out of her before she could stop them. Raw, shaking, endless. Travis was at her side instantly, pulling her into his arms, his tears falling into her hair. "I'm sorry," she gasped between sobs. "I'm so sorry." "Hey," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Why are you sorry?" "Because I got your hopes up. Because I told you we were having a baby and we're not." Travis cupped her face in his hands, forcing her to look at him. "Taylor, stop. This isn't your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. We're both sad, yeah. But that doesn't change us." They held each other there in that sterile room, mourning something they'd only known for 3 days, but had already loved as if it had been real. The drive home was silent. Taylor stared out the window, her hand resting on her stomach, which now felt unbearably empty. Travis kept one hand on the wheel and the other holding hers, their silence saying everything words couldn't. At home, Taylor went straight to bed. Travis climbed in beside her, pulling her close, both of them wrapped in quiet grief. "We should call Jason," Taylor whispered. "Tell him it was a false alarm." "Later," Travis said softly. "Right now, we just need to be sad." And they were. They lay together until the sun dipped below the horizon, letting the silence hold what words never could, the loss of something that almost was. The days that followed blurred together, quiet, tender, and heavy. They made the difficult calls. Jason and Kylie were the first to know. Jason's voice was soft, understanding. Kylie cried with them, promising that someday, when it really happened, it would be even more beautiful. Then they called their mothers. Donna's voice cracked on the other end of the line. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. But you two have so much time. When it's meant to happen, it will." Andrea, ever the nurturer, wanted to fly in immediately, to hold her daughter. "False alarms happen," she said gently. "But maybe this one showed you something important, that you're ready." Taylor had cried again after that call, but this time the tears were softer. They carried truth instead of loss. Over the next week, Taylor went back to see Dr. Martinez. The explanation was simple but human. Stress, exhaustion, and hormonal imbalance. Nothing serious. Nothing permanent. Just life, reminding her that even miracles sometimes misfire before they're meant to bloom. Dr. Martinez smiled kindly as she handed Taylor her new prescription. "When you're ready to try for real, come back to me. We'll make sure everything's perfect." A few days later, the house felt different. Not empty, but quieter, as if it were holding its breath. Taylor and Travis spent the evenings outside, sitting together in the backyard watching the sun dip below the horizon. Neither said much. They didn't have to. That night, as the light faded into gold and pink, Taylor rested her head against Travis's shoulder. His arm circled her, holding her the way he always did. Steady, protective, gentle. "I've been thinking," he said finally. She tilted her head toward him. "About what?" He took a deep breath, eyes fixed on the horizon. "About what you said. That you want to be a mom," Taylor nodded. "Yeah, I do. More than I realized." "Me too," he said quietly. "I didn't think I was ready. But when I thought it was real, I couldn't stop imagining it. Us. A family. Kids laughing in the backyard. You teaching them piano. Me teaching them how to throw a football," she smiled faintly. "You mean arguing over who gets to name them?" Travis chuckled. "Exactly." Then he shifted slightly, his hand slipping into his pocket. Taylor frowned, confused, until he pulled out a small velvet box. Her breath caught. Travis. He turned toward her, his eyes glistening in the fading light. "I was going to wait," he said softly. "I had this whole plan for New Year's Eve. Fireworks, champagne, the whole thing. But after this week, I realized something." He opened the box, revealing a diamond ring that sparkled like starlight. "I don't want to wait anymore. We lost something that wasn't even real, but it showed me everything that is real. Us." He took her hand, his voice trembling with emotion. "Taylor Allison Swift, will you marry me? Will you be my wife? And someday, when we're truly ready, the mother of my children?" For a moment she couldn't breathe. Tears spilled down her cheeks. But these were not the tears of grief. "Yes," she whispered. Then louder, laughing through the tears, "Yes, yes, yes." Travis slipped the ring onto her finger, his own hands shaking. When he kissed her, it felt like a promise, one that stretched far beyond the pain of the past week. That night, they sat on the couch, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her. The ring glittered softly in the lamplight. "So," Taylor said quietly, a smile ghosting her lips, "when it really happens, when I'm actually pregnant, we'll be ready this time." "So ready," Travis said, grinning. "But until then, maybe we should practice." Taylor swatted his arm, laughing through her blush. "You're ridiculous." "You love me," he teased. She looked at him, eyes full of warmth. "I do. I really, really do." Outside, the night was still, the kind of stillness that comes after a storm. Inside, they held each other, hearts lighter than they'd been in days. They weren't parents yet. Not today, maybe not tomorrow. But they were something stronger. Two people who had faced heartbreak, found each other in the wreckage, and chosen love anyway. And before anything else, they were going to get married. Exactly the way it should be. The house was quiet that morning. The kind of peaceful quiet that comes after a night of laughter, music, and too much wedding cake. Sunlight poured through the big kitchen windows, glinting off the silver frame on the counter, a photo from their wedding day. Taylor in ivory lace, laughing as Travis lifted her off the ground in the middle of the dance floor, her veil floating like sunlight. His smile pure joy. They'd been married for just over a year now. The whirlwind of tours, football seasons, and late-night FaceTimes had somehow settled into something softer, a rhythm that belonged only to them. Taylor stood barefoot on the tile floor, coffee mug in hand, humming absent-mindedly. She hadn't written anything new in weeks. The melodies that usually chased her through the house had gone strangely quiet. Lately, she'd been tired, emotional, a little off. When she sat down, she felt it. That familiar flutter of anxiety, the one she hadn't felt in exactly 12 months. She glanced toward the bathroom. Her heart began to race. There, sitting on the counter, were 2 pregnancy tests. 2 pink lines, her breath caught. She covered her mouth with both hands, eyes filling with tears. For a moment, the world tilted, time folding in on itself. It was happening again. Only this time, she knew. Travis walked in a few minutes later, still half asleep, rubbing the back of his neck. "Morning, Mrs. Kelce," he mumbled with that sleepy grin that still made her weak. Taylor turned toward him, unable to speak. She just held out the test, her hand trembling. He frowned in confusion for a heartbeat, then froze. His eyes widened, mouth falling open just slightly. "No way." Taylor nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Yes way." Travis let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. He crossed the room in 2 steps and wrapped her up in his arms, lifting her clean off the floor. "You're sure?" He whispered against her hair. "I took 2, both positive." He laughed again, shaking his head in disbelief. "I told you we'd get it right when we practiced." Taylor smacked his arm lightly, laughing through tears. "You're impossible." "You love me," he said, the same words he'd used that night after the proposal. "I do," she whispered, looking up at him. "More than ever." He kissed her then, deep and full of joy, before lowering his forehead to hers. "We're really doing it this time," he said softly. "We're really having a baby." Later, when they sat on the couch, the same spot where they'd once mourned what they thought they'd lost. Taylor looked down at his hand resting on her stomach and smiled. "You remember what you said that day?" she asked. "Which part?" "That plans change," he smiled, eyes crinkling. "Best change of plans I ever made." And as the morning light danced across their living room, the two of them sat in the quiet, hearts full, the echo of that promise still between them, a promise that began with heartbreak, grew through hope, and finally became the family they were always meant to build.